Before we set out on this journey together, I would like to dedicate this podcast to my mom, who is my rock and my number one fan, my dad, my brother, my sister, my husband, my family, friends, and mentors that helped me achieve this daring dream of becoming a physician. I would also like to dedicate this podcast to 3 phenomenal women who have been instrumental in molding me into the woman and physician I am today. The first is my best friend, Natalie Sanchez. We first met when we were 9 years old, and she has been there since day one. She is my muse and my confidant. The second is Ederlyn Casillas, who I met at UCLA during my undergraduate studies and who I became best friends with while learning to navigate college and pre-med courses. Ederlyn pursued her Master's of Science at the California State University in Dominguez Hills, received her Bachelor of Science in Nursing at Mount St. Mary's University, and eventually completed her RN degree. She was a powerhouse, always full of energy, compassionate, and was my motivation and inspiration to excel in my undergraduate and pre-med courses. She had so much to give, but lost her battle to breast cancer in 2017 after a long and well-fought battle. The third woman is Dr. Raquel Oma, who was an oral and maxillofacial surgeon who began her medical career as a doctor of dental surgery at UCLA and then pursued her surgical career while attending the David Geffen School of Medicine at UCLA. We met during my first year of medical school and became best friends instantly. Dr. Oma, or Rocky, as she was known by all of those that loved and knew her, was a force of nature. She had a magnetic personality. She struck a fine balance between humility and confidence and was committed to service. Her unexpected passing this February 2024 was shocking to all of those who loved her. I spoke to her about my idea for this podcast prior to her passing in January of 2024, and she was so excited and would have made an awesome guest. So here's to them and to all those trailblazing women that have come before us, and to those who are currently creating change, and to the up-and-coming Latina physicians. Welcome to the Becoming Latina Physicians podcast, a place where I share my journey to becoming a physician, as well as the stories of others in our community to help inspire, mentor, and equip current and future Latinas on their successful journey into medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Alanis, a board-certified diagnostic and interventional radiologist. Join me in our trailblazing community as we share stories, inspire, and mentor each other to thrive in medicine. Get ready to learn, grow, and become resilient, friends. On this first episode of Becoming Latina Physicians podcast, I would like to speak about my background, my journey into medicine, and how I got here. Now, keep in mind that this journey into medicine is more of a marathon and less like a sprint, so my advice would be to plan accordingly. I understand that my story is one of thousands, and I came upon the idea of starting this podcast because I was meeting younger aspiring Latina physicians who found themselves in situations where they felt alone or lost on this journey. My goal is to reach out to all of those individuals who are the next aspiring Latino physicians, and all of those that are in training, so that they may find my journey and the stories of others as a guide to help them succeed and survive the good, the bad, and the ugly of medicine. I am a double board certified diagnostic and interventional radiologist, a career based on the culmination of many years of schooling and training, as well as countless trials and errors. To summarize all the years of schooling and training that it took to become a physician, I completed 4 years of high school, followed by 5 years of college where I majored in anthropology, minored in Latin American studies, and completed my pre-med requirements. This was followed by 2 years of post-baccalaureate work, which I completed at the University of California, Irvine. This was followed by 5 years of medical school and graduate school. During this time, I obtained my MD and my Master of Public Health. Following that, I completed a year of surgical internship. Then I completed 1 year of interventional radiology research. This was then followed by 4 years of diagnostic radiology residency. And lastly, I completed 1 year of interventional radiology fellowship. All in all, that's a total of 23 years. On to my personal story. I was born and raised in Southern California. I grew up in Arleta/Pacoima, California. Now I mention both because it depends on where you live exactly and which one you want to claim because both share the same zip code. The cities are located in the northeast San Fernando Valley and are composed of working class, predominantly Spanish-speaking immigrant communities. In fact, Latinos make up 70% of the population, something I need to point out because it forms the foundation of what is to come. My parents immigrated to the United States from rural Guatemala in pursuit of a better future for themselves and their family in the late 1970s. My parents only received a grade school education due to their circumstances, which did not afford them the ability to pursue an education, but instead dictated that they start working at a very young age to help feed and house their families. My mother actually grew up picking cotton and harvesting plants. Both of my parents worked in the fields and both were exposed to fishing because of their proximity to the ocean. Growing up, I would hear the stories my mother would tell me about her struggles and poverty-stricken childhood, all of which fueled my desire to pursue a higher education and become successful in whatever career I chose. I am the eldest of 3 children and the first in my family to attend high school and college. In fact, while in grade school, my goal had been to graduate high school and then get a well-paying job. But little did I know that becoming best friends with Natalie Sanchez at the age of 9 while attending Sharp Elementary would lead me down a completely different path. She exposed me to the concept/idea of going to college after high school. College, I thought, what is that? Apparently, it was a very important step to take in life for some people. When Natalie signed up for the College Readiness Program, or CRP, during junior high school at Guatemala Junior High, now known as Becoming Middle School, I followed. During these after-school extracurricular activities, we visited surrounding colleges like CSUN and UCLA. We participated in spelling bee contests and performed science experiments. Then, when Natalie decided that she wanted to sign up for the magnet program at the John H. Francis Polytechnic High School in Sun Valley, California, I also signed up. I remember going to school with Natalie and her mom and signing up for the brand new program in 1994. Unbeknownst to me, this would be the beginning of my journey into medicine. So let's dive deep into all of these years of schooling. Let's recap. As I mentioned, I was the first in my family to attend high school. In high school, I enrolled in the John H. Francis Polytechnic Math, Science, and Technology Magnet Program, or Polymagnet as it is known now, which provides a challenging college preparatory program for 9th through 12th grade students who are interested in math and science. During high school, I decided to pursue a career in medicine as I was exposed to the sciences and reflected on 2 of my childhood experiences. The first is, I vividly remember sitting in the corner of a 1-bedroom apartment as a child, completely immersed in and flipping through the pages of a vintage medical book. I loved to layer the series of anatomical transparencies on top of each other and trace the vessels and organs to study human anatomy. My mother would hide the book because she thought the pictures were too gruesome for a young child, but I always found it. Now fast forward to my medical training years and imagine my horror when I first saw and felt a real aorta during my medical school rotations. It looked nothing like those drawings. The second childhood experience came when I was diagnosed with scoliosis during an elementary physical school exam. I was referred to an orthopedic physician for a heel, sole/lift to help with my leg length discrepancy. I remember arriving at this small clinic and being greeted by an elderly white male who turned out to be a retired physician, volunteering his time helping pediatric patients with the creation of orthopedic prosthesis. I was fascinated with the entire process and asked if I could shadow him every once in a while. He did not object and actually encouraged me. It was a win-win. I would observe him and he would benefit from my ability to interpret for his Spanish-speaking patients, which made up the majority of his patients. This was nothing new to me. I was used to interpreting for my family during medical visits. But reflecting back on it now, I should have never been placed in that situation in the first place. This exposure and childhood memories inspired me to volunteer while in high school in 1995 at the Pacifica Hospital of the Valley in Sun Valley, California. I learned in greater depth the health disparities medically underserved communities face, and it served as fuel to my fire to pursue a career in medicine. But first, where do I start? Who do I ask? Up to this point, I had not met another Latino and Latina physician and was unsure if I could make it happen. After asking a random physician I met at the hospital, they told me I needed to graduate from high school, go to college, and then medical school. So that's what I was going to do. I had no idea of the perils, the uphill battles, the knockdowns, the failures that would await me. This was a blessing in a way because had I known what was to come, I may have just stopped and done something completely different. If nothing else, I believed in myself and can say that a bit of delusion had a part to play in all of this. After graduating high school, I applied to UCLA and got in, which was extremely exciting. I still remember it to this day. Again, I was the first in my family to go to college. And while I was at UCLA, I majored in anthropology, minored in Latin American studies, and completed my pre-med requirements. In the summer of 2001, I completed a 6-week training program that was called the Minority Medical Education Program, or MMEP, in Chicago that helped me prepare for a career in medicine by providing academic enrichment, hands-on learning, and mentorship. I made some lifelong friends during this unforgettable summer, and I'm excited to host some of these women on my show in future episodes. While I was at UCLA, there was a culture shock, and I struggled. We will delve deeper into this in future episodes. In addition to the culture shock and difficulty in assimilating, I also struggled academically. I went from being a straight A++ student to struggling and getting C's on a lot of subjects. Because of that, my science GPA was not as competitive as I would have hoped it would have been by the time I graduated. I looked into post-baccalaureate work, and I was fortunate enough to apply and get accepted at the University of California, Irvine, where I completed 2 years of post-baccalaureate work. The program prepared me to excel academically and to improve my science GPA so that I could be a more competitive candidate for medical school. I formed close friendships with other Latinos pursuing a career in medicine during these 2 years, some of whom you will hear from in future episodes. Prior to starting medical school, I took the MCAT 3 times and applied to medical school twice before I got accepted. In between these quote-unquote failures, I volunteered my time in the emergency department at the Providence Holy Cross Medical Center in Mission Hills, California, and at the Healthy Way program at the Latino Health Access Center in Santa Ana, California. I eventually got into medical school. I received my Doctor of Medicine from the UCLA Prime program, now known as the Prime LA program, in conjunction with the Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science. I was part of the first cohort of the program, which is a 5-year concurrent/dual degree program that trains medical students on leadership and advocacy so that they can then address healthcare disparities in medically underserved populations in California and throughout the United States. During those 5 years, I also received my Master of Public Health, my MPH in Health Policy and Management from the UCLA Fielding School of Public Health. Once I was done with medical school, I completed my 1 year of internship in surgery at UCLA. The internship year is an intensive year of a lot of learning and growing while practicing medicine. There are a lot of jokes and comments about medical students starting their internship year in July because, as you can imagine, it's the first time we are semi on our own, seeing and treating patients, formulating care plans, learning how to navigate patient charting, prescribing medications, etc. Errors and mistakes will happen, some small and some big. More about this in future episodes. I actually thought I was going to go into primary care family medicine at the beginning of my medical career, and then I changed my mind during my medical school rotations when I realized that I thrived in surgery and felt at ease in the OR versus treating chronic medical conditions. I decided I was going to pursue surgery. As you can already discern, I did not pursue surgery in the end. You will hear more about this in future episodes. While deciding on what I wanted to do next besides surgery, I stumbled upon a field that I did not know existed like many others, and that was interventional radiology, or IR, which is based on performing image-guided, minimally invasive procedures. I fell in love with IR and decided I would take a gap year and complete IR research. During my year of IR research, I was able to secure a spot in a diagnostic radiology residency program at Cooper University Healthcare in Camden, New Jersey. Training in diagnostic radiology is required as part of the training to become an IR. I enjoyed my experience there, and I joke with my husband that we can now say we have lived both on the East Coast and West Coast. Following my 4 years of diagnostic radiology residency, I then applied to interventional radiology fellowship. This was an exhaustive year of honing down your IR skills where you learn to perform image-guided, minimally invasive procedures in the body from the neck down. I can treat cancers, perform biopsies, place strains, reconstruct veins, open clotted veins and arteries, etc. I was the last cohort to complete quote-unquote traditional training. Now there are integrated and independent IR residency programs that train you to become an IR. So there you have it, a brief summary of my background, my journey into medicine, and how I got here. We will delve deeper into these experiences, discuss various topics that influence my becoming a Latina physician, and hear from others with similar experiences. So thank you for tuning into the Becoming Latina Physician podcast. Remember, your journey in medicine is not just about becoming a doctor. It's the person you become while empowering others along the way. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast. And remember to share this with others who need to hear this message. Until next time, keep shining bright. See you at our next appointment.